Hey, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning to you. My name is Colton Moore. I come from Northwest Georgia, way up in Dade County. It doesn't get any more northwest in our state than that. As a matter of fact, I grew up in a voting precinct that was the most northwest, besides one. It was called New Home, and I tell folks down at the Capitol that if you think I'm conservative, let somebody from New Home get elected, and they'll be more conservative than me. And the reason why it's called New Home is because those people who first settled there were sick and tired of the regulation of where they came from. And, you know, I'm more and more convinced after hearing Alex speak that this organization will be the savior of freedom and liberty for millions to come. You know, it's when you come from Dade County and you get down to the Capitol, and it's this big, beautiful temple. And a lot of people, they get drunk on politics when they go in there, right? This beautiful building, you know, all of this big money, this big fame. And, you know, I wonder how in the world did I get there? And then you look at how some of those other folks are voting, and you think, my goodness, how in the world did they get here? You know, there were a lot of tough votes, a lot of close votes. And when I say close votes, I mean near unanimous, because I was the only no vote. You know, it's good to be here amongst friends, because you get down at the Capitol and you fight the good fight and you wonder, is there anybody else out there who's with me? But I come to GRA and I tell you what, it's so refreshing. This is the only political event that I'll probably be invited to across the entire state is the GRA, so it's good to see other friends. Let me tell you, the budget this year was horrendous, and you may have seen a speech. I was like the first senator to vote against that budget in probably about a decade or so. And a lot of folks don't understand the horrendous aspect of these corporate subsidies that we have in our state, right? People hear film tax credit and they think, oh, it's just like a discount on somebody's taxes. The film industry is getting a break on taxes, which isn't fair, right? They shouldn't even be getting that. But it's far more horrendous. What it actually is it's an indirect subsidy, right? The film company shows up, they spend $100,000 on the film, and they get a 30% corporate subsidy, right? And then they get to sell that as a tax credit for about 90 cents on the dollar. So big company owes taxes in Georgia, and they just go to their accountant, they buy a film tax credit. If they owe $10,000 in Georgia taxes, they'll pay $9,000. That $9,000 is then exported out to Hollywood, and meanwhile, the Department of Revenue gets a worthless piece of paper. We can't build roads, we can't build bridges, we can't fund law enforcement, we can't do all the things that are the proper role of government because we don't have any money. We just gave it all to the film industry. Now, what's so ironic is that we have $10 billion in debt, okay? Now, you go down to the Capitol and you say, well, is this good debt? And the politicians will tell you, the elected officials will say, absolutely, it's good debt. It's for capital infrastructure. It's for those bridges and those roads. But what they fail to tell you is that we have like $9 billion in tax liabilities. You see, the film industry and all those other big corporations could show up at any time to the Department of Revenue and say, we'd like to submit these worthless pieces of paper. So isn't it ironic that it's $9 billion in tax liabilities but $10 billion in debt? So, I tell you, I started bringing a little attention to that, and the film industry started shaking in their boots. And they had this big fancy limo bus pick up a bunch of senators and say, we're going to go and we're going to take a tour of the film industry. So we go to this place called Sonoy, Georgia, and some of you may be from near and around Sonoy. Yeah. And this place is a booming, right? There's big buildings, and they've got foam structures they're making movies with. One foam structure cost $1 million. But guess what? You all subsidize that by $300,000. Then you got people saying, oh, well, we're making $3,000 a month in rent. Well, you all are subsidizing that rent by about $900 a month. So we get back to the Capitol, and all these politicians say, oh, my goodness, look how this film industry is helping this local community grow. And I said, folks, I may be the only senator here with a difference of opinion, but I think we ought to be submitting a resolution to rename the town of Sonoy to the 30% corporate subsidy, whereas all Georgians shall be able to look at a map and know exactly where their tax dollars are going. How about that? So be on the lookout when I submit that next session, and I'm not sure quite the parliamentary procedure, but I'm going to try to make the clerk read it multiple times. Folks, this is a great convention. Make sure you endorse someone who is influenced by the conscience of the Republican Party, or who is the conscience of the Republican Party. Like I just said, this organization will be responsible for preserving freedom. We have the means and the power to do it. We just have to take action. If I can ever be of assistance to you, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.